Hey there, Jeff with www.missionmusician.com, and today I'm going to try to shoot a very quick video. Never works out that way, I'm sorry. Of why you would use a pre-fader send or a post-fader send. I got this question from one of my Mission Musician subscribers, John, was wanting to know when would you use a pre-send and when would you use a post-send? And I think that's an awesome question. I'm so used to doing it that I never even think in those terms anymore. I just know what to do. So I'm going to give you a couple examples here. So say I wanted to duplicate the snare and parallel process it, okay? So what I would do, and let me scoot this up a little bit. All right. So I would take a send and I would send the snare to an auxiliary track. All right. So let's create that. And I'm going to name it, because I'm OCD about that type of stuff, snare dupe. Okay. So now we have this fader here that has a pre, and if it's not clicked, if it's clicked, it's pre. If it's not, it's post. So let's assume, well, not assume, let's try it in post. What happens? Well, in post, this volume is going to affect the volume of this duplicate track. In other words, post fader means it's going after this fader. Pre fader means it's going to this track before this fader. So this fader has no effect on this signal over here at all. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to leave it in post, all right, and I'm going to solo these two. I'm going to solo this first. Let me get to a different part of the song here. All right. So if I solo this, now we have two snares here, or a snare and a duplicate. But watch what happens when I pull this volume down. So the snare goes away over here because it's in post fader. Now watch what happens when I put it on pre-fader. Right? So it has no effect on this. So that's what I want in this instance. Let's say I want to put a compressor on it. Let's see. Let's see the 1176. And I'm going to choose Rock My Snare. All right. Okay, so then I could use this to blend up the volume of the snare. So if I had it in post, I couldn't do that. So let's bring the snare in. Okay, so that's why whenever I'm sending an instrument to an auxiliary track as a duplicate, I always send it pre-fader, okay? So because I want these two faders to be independent of each other. I don't want to turn this down and then the volume of this fader goes down. That's not what I'm looking for. I want this to put this at the level and be independent of this one so I can blend this in more or less as I need it. So why would we use post fader then? Well, let's use a different example here. All right, so let me get rid of this. Delete, and I'm gonna send the snare to a new track. And I'm gonna make this a stereo aux and name it snare verb. Okay, so now it's in post. So let me put on a reverb here really quick. And let me just grab something here that will work on a snare. Snare plate, let's try that. Okay, so now what happens, let me, before we get carried away here, whoops. So now I'm controlling the level of the reverb. In other words, the level of the reverb goes down if I lower the snare volume, because we don't want to lower the snare volume and have the reverb stay loud, stay as loud as it was. We want it to come down if we need to lower the snare volume. So it works in conjunction with the snare volume. So you can see what I mean here. So if I were to put this in pre, watch what happens. So the wet signal stays right up at the same volume. It doesn't come down with if we lower the volume of the snare. So that is how I would use pre and post fader sends. I hope that explains it well enough. I'm assuming that it does. If it doesn't, comment below and ask your question, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.